Welcome back to Happy to Fly. This is our first live stream of the year. Yeah, basically going to be our first live stream of the year. And the first thing that we're going to kick off with is how to fly fish in the winter. Um, Fly fishing in winter is some people think it's just kind of like a not worth it really going out. It's cold and the fish slow down, the metabolism slows down. But hey, it's also fun too, and you catch a lot of fish this way also. Right now, it's cold, it's snowing. Actually, we did get snow. In my last video with the Zebra Mitch, I was talking about how it's never snowed yet, and it's already January. But today, as we speak, it is snowing, so that's good. And I'll tell you in a minute why it's so good. So, we're gonna first kick it off with what do the fish do? What are the fish doing during the winter times? Do they slow down? What do they do? Do they stop eating? What do they do? So in the winter, fish slow down. Their metabolism slows down. They eat less. They move less, and that's all they change. And their food priority changes also. So right now, the water conditions, we're going to be talking about different water conditions that you fish and how to fish it. We're going to start off with water conditions here. We're going to start off with low water. So, low water, trout, how do I say this? That are interesting. They change. And each day that you go out during the wintertime, it's always different and you always learn new things. And fly fishing the water, you're probably going to be doing dry dropper fishing or nymphing the whole time. I really rarely, if it's low water, crystal low water, and it's cold, these fish are going to be really down to that bottom of actually where the rocks are, where it's warmest, and they're going to try to keep warmth there, and they're not going to be moving a lot. They are more sensitive when you enter the water. You got to be more aware of your surroundings. So walk in very carefully when you walk in, and watch for fish. Watch for sight fish for a little bit, and just look at the horizon. What's happening? What type of water, or what type of water that's ahead of you that you'll be fishing, and you know there's fish there. Also, keep in mind too, they're going to be in different spots. They might be along the banks or anything else like that too. So be aware of that. Also with high water, so we're going to start off with high water here too. What do the fish do? Simple. In the middle of the stream, so imagine this: you're on the stream. I'm going to just say Spring Creek. You just rolled up in your car in the parking lot, and you look outside. It's a little snowy or it rained a little bit. It's just really cold and it's winter, and you look out and you see the stream, and the stream is high and it's moving pretty fast, and or it even has chocolate water also, and you're thinking to yourself, should I even fish this? Should I? In my opinion, you should. It sounds crazy, and no, it sounds like, oh my gosh, how do even fish even see this through this murky water? um but they can, and they can very well. But we're going to help them see that fly a little bit better. We're going to be talking about that later in the episode. But mainly, they're going to be along the banks. They're going to be along the banks where it's actually the water is the clearest, and also that it has less moving water, so they don't spend as much energy when they're going or they're trying to propel themselves upstream. So that's just a couple tips there where you're going to find this fish. All right, so let's get started. So we talked a little bit about the fish, where they're going to be. Now let's talk about the techniques that we're going to be using to get those fish. So let's start off with nymphing. I do have a couple flies in front of me that I'll show you later, but let's talk about a little bit more about nymphing in general, tactics or technique wise. So basically, the fish are slow. It's kind of like this scenario: to catch the fish, you got to be the fish. You got to act like the fish. How are the fish moving? And I said earlier already, the fish are slowing down. It's cooler water. Yeah, some people, when it hits 40 degrees, they think that the fish are going to be a little bit more active. But when it drops below that point where it's at that freezing point, and it's to the point where your hands are cold and you got to put on those gloves, that's when you want to slow down. What I mean by slowing down is that present or drift your flies slower. And you might just say, hey, what if I have a string that's moving pretty quick or something like that? How are you going to nymph that if you're going to fish it slow? Use heavier flies. Also, to the point there too, the fish are going to be to the bottom of the stream. You're going to be fishing some heavy flies also. So in shallow water, as I said before too, dry dropper is a good way to go. Basically, if fish is slow and that dry fly is going to be your indicator, and you're going to have a nymph under that. And that nymph is going to spend in the water longer. And that's why I like to use dry droppers. And we'll talk about flies later. But so dry droppers, and then nymphing wise, try single nymph. I've been having luck with single nymphing. And some people think that, hey, put on 2 flies, you have amount of chance that you have. But presenting the fly in shallow water, 1 fly does the trick. So when you have your tag above your fly, it presents in a different way. And some people say that fly fishing pocket water or something like that, you don't want 2 nymphs, because what happens is that it's so boulderly, or there's so many boulders that those 2 flies can be cast together, but when they start drifting, they drift and they go into different currents, which kind of twists them up, and it's not natural to the fish. That's why I don't like to. Oh, there's a tip for you guys there too. Don't fish 2 flies or 2 nymphing flies when you're fly fishing pocket water. So um, those are just a couple things there too. When fly fishing low water and fly fishing high water, use some heavy flies. You gotta get down there when you're nymphing. Nymphing is actually not my priority when I'm actually fly fishing heavy water. I'll say that. I'll talk about that later too. I have a lot of things to talk about with you guys. But right now, fly fishing, nymphing in high water, you're going to be wanting to fly fish pretty heavy flies, up to 3/0s or even larger weights of beads size. Um, you want to be fly fishing where those fish are going to be, and they're going to be really low in the water column. Throw something big, throw something that they could visually see. I I really don't care if you're nymphing a crawfish or something like that. You got to get to this fish, and you got to let those fish know, hey, there's something coming down the stream, and it might be something good to eat, and it's good calories, and it's moving slow, and it's an easy bite to have. um, so those are just a couple nymphing techniques there. Flies wise, I'll tell you the techniques of what I use them to. So my last video was on the zebra midge and tying the zebra midge. And I said before too, zebra midge and why it works. I'll repeat myself again too. Zebra midges work because they're year round. They hatch year round. They're in the water year round. And that's mainly what the fish's diet is: midges and crest bugs. I'll get to the crest bugs later too, but just sticking with zebra midges right now. Zebra midges, I would use them probably in the shallow water conditions. Why? Because thinner profile, it gets to the bottom quick, but it doesn't have a very big body. It doesn't move any water or move any current to let this fish know in this heavy water that there's something there. You might want to try different colors. I said that in the other video too. I would both use it nymphing, single nymphing, or dry droppering. That's just a couple ways to fly fish this nymph. And don't forget to, I know it's winter and there's not too many hatches, but don't forget to swing this fly. And sometimes it can act as an attractor, or sometimes it acts as some shiny object is coming through and it just attracts the fish and they just take it. That's just the way it goes. That's the thing there with zebra midges. Swing that zebra midge. You'll get some fish definitely that way. So tie different weights also. I did tie in the other video size 2.8 millimeter bead, but you could put any ladders up to 2.0 or something like that to do your dry droppering. All right, moving on. All right, so coming up next is the eggs. Eggs, oh my gosh, eggs. Um, they work, they do work very well. But sometimes the fish can be picky about it. I don't know how to explain it. But early in the season, actually last year now, um, they in around October through November and December, those eggs are working fabulously. Number one, they're flashy. Number two, that's mainly what the fish are eating, and that's the most protein they can get are those eggs, and that's what they're heavily feeding on. Um, so I have a fly here too. I'll show it to you. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but it's just a McFin normal. I have it on a jig hook, size 2.3 millimeter bead, and it's orange. It's just a tiny little puff ball. All right, that works. It really works. So when nymphing this, dry dropper it, doesn't mind. But also talking about that slow um, fishing this fly or fishing slow when you're nymphing, this fly helps because it pushes water and it absorbs water, which makes it drop and it's going to be heavier, which is going to make that fly act slower or present slower to the fish. And that's why that fly works well in the wintertime too. Um, Also, too, don't forget to use different colors also, but orange is my number one. Just a helpful tip to you guys. Orange is my number one guy. And I always use that too. Don't forget to tie bigger eggs also. That if you're fishing a pool or a slow pool or something like that, big eggs tied in size 14 to even size 12 may come in handy. And it might attract this fish just to say, okay, that looks like a decent meal I could pick up pretty easily and I should have that, and I'm gonna go get that. So that's why that works. Next coming up too is the Frenchie. A lot of people use Frenchies, but also I want to say too, try one with the orange color or a red color. Maybe they'll attract it just because it looks like an egg, and the body it has pheasant tail on it, so it kind of looks natural. So it looks both ways at the same time. So nothing goes wrong with that. Um, Next coming up is crust bug. I said that earlier also. Nymph it, dry dropper works. Why it works? Because it's year round. This is what kind of looks like. Kind of like a gray puffball there, but um, this fly works tremendously. If you look in my podcast with Joe Humphreys, he ties this fly, and ever since then I've been tying his pattern was tied in that podcast, and the fly works. The fly works marvelously. It is a natural fly and it's a natural presentation, but it works on stock trout too. I tried it on stock trout. They love it. I don't know necessarily know why, but they do. Even if the stream doesn't have any crest bugs in it, give the crest bug a try. It just looks buggy. It looks and it moves water because there's a bigger profile. It just works. It just works marvelously. And those are the top four flies again: egg, Frenchie. Don't forget that zebra midge, and don't forget to watch that video also when I tie it, and the crest bug. Those are the four flies I mainly use during the winter time or when I'm nymphing. So there you go. There's nymphing in there in a nutshell. That's basically it. And the number one tip again: fish slow. Fish slow. Work the riffles or the deep pools. Don't forget those deep pools. That's where those fish hold. And the banks. Don't forget the banks. All right, so we talked a little bit more about shallow water presentations. Now I'm going to get down to the down, deep, dirty stuff. All right, so now we're coming up to fly fishing heavy water and what to use. And that's streamers. Streamers work so well during the wintertime. I don't know why, but well, actually I do know why, but the fish are slow, had to have a slower metabolism, which is kind of weird, right? So why would a fly fish something that moves in the water, and why would a fish want to spend its time trying to chase that fly and try to eat it? Well, because it's meat. It packs on calories, fat for the trout, and it will last them for a long time during the winter months. And that's why it works. And also, don't forget brown trout, rainbow trout. they have aggression in them that they need to get that fly. If you have a fish chasing after it, maybe slow down a tad bit because it's not in the summer. I'll tell you about the tips and stuff that later, but they still go after streamers. Then they still will go after heavy water. When you're fishing those banks and you need to move that water and you need something going there that you know that those trout are looking at it, that's when the streamer will come in handy. So I talked about banks, high water. You're gonna hit those banks, and that's the only thing you're gonna hit because that's the only place that really works. Well, for me, wise. Um, but now we're gonna be talking about depth. All right. So sometimes people use streamers to get down because it's heavy. It has a heavy fly, or it has a heavy lead wrap, or a bead head on it, or a cone head on it. But also, what I'm going to talk about too is floating line versus sink tips. Um, so how do I say this? So you can either go both ways. You can use sink tips to make that fly float down. Some flies I use it for, and that's when they have deer head or deer hair on there for the head, or elk hair, and it pushes water, but you can't get down because it floats, right? So that's when that sink tip comes in handy. And sometimes you just need to get to that depth, and it's super deep. Maybe you're going to have to resort to going to a sink tip. Floating line, that's what I mainly use. I usually use it with a heavier streamer. Throw it in that bank and just let it drop to the bottom. And I strip it in a little bit, and then I feel tug, strip set, you're good to go. Um, so that's just a little bit on floating line and sinking line. I'm not going to get too much into depth with that, but I am going to talk about leader formulas. I've researched a lot about leaders for streamers, and it just came down to what's more simple, what's more reasonable. And people use like 20 to 15 to 12, and then just to a O-ring, or a leader ring, or a tippet ring uh, for the end of the line. But it really just came down to a leader, a short leader, that you can flip those flies over quickly and get to this depth quickly. And it just literally just came down to 3 feet of 15-pound maxima line and a tippet ring. That's that's it. I like keeping it simple. That's the way to do it. And that's how fly fishing should be done. Simple. I love it simple. And that simple leader works for me. Just 3 feet of 15-pound maxima, and you're good to go. All right. So that's my leader formula. All right. So now a lot of people ask about what colors do you use in high/muddy water? Anything. Anything that moves water, I don't care what color it is, it works and get to this fish. If you fish that stream and some color works, go for it. If you want to imitate a sculpin, use an olive zonker or conehead streamer, rabbit strip streamer. I don't care. You can use that. You can use something so bizarre that could catch a fish too. Anything can work, but the really thing that matters is the size and if it pushes water and it gets to this depth quick. That's all that matters. That's what matters to me the most when I'm out streamer fishing. So color wise, anything. Use anything. If it's flashy, use it. If it's dull, if it moves water, you're good to go. That's it. Really, that's it. All right. So now I'm going to get down to flies for streamers. Now, this is the fun part for me. So tying streamers is the funnest. You get to decorate it more, and it's bigger, it's meatier, and you know a fish that's going to eat this is going to be huge. And that's the only thing that's going to be hitting it. All right, so type of flies, sculpin. Sculpin live in Spring Creek the majority of the time, and that's what works. So sculpin wise, I'd be using, this is a jig version. I do have other versions I'll show you. But basically it's just with marabou, gray marabou, with some rubber legs on it. I'm not sure if you can see that, but also some chenille just to flash it out. And there you go. It's on a size 12 jig hook with a 3.0 bead. There you go. This is sculpin right there. Is another one, zonker. Here's another one with a squirrel, squirrel fur, and then a squirrel strip, and some chenille for the body. And this is size 2.5 millimeter bead on a size 14 hook. Just a smaller fly that you get those fish to see it. Oops, dropped that there. And now getting to more toward the bigger flies, buggers. I love buggers, and this is actually made out of Michael's material or decorating material, which works the most. You have some marabou in the back, some flash, and that's going to get the fish to see that better. And it works really well on bass also. So if you want to go bass fishing, try more of white flies. They attract them more, particular to anything else. So I talked a little bit about what the fish are going to be eating and what type of fish are in the stream, but now getting to big flies. You gotta move those fish, and that's what we're gonna be getting up to. So coming up first is gonna be a tiny little baby brown trout, with a cone head on it, double hook. All right, I'm trying to hold this so you guys can see. I'm just gonna hold it like this. All right, so this is it. Cone head, some marabou, chenille, hackle feathers. You got the gist, and that's basically what it looks like. You got to move that water, right? All right. So that moves a lot of water with that cone head. It gets down quick. Here's another one. This is when the sink tip comes in handy because this does not have a cone head on it, but it moves water. That's like another round trout imitation right there. This is like the doubly legal fly. So that's kind of what it looks like. Some hackle in the back and some deer hair there. All right. So coming up next, we got some marabou here. This is barely legal too. Just a marabou imitation, flashier, and you got orange there, stuff like that. Like if it's injured or something like that. And there you go. That's basically what we got there. All right, now we're getting to jigs. Now jigs are fun too. I'll probably make a video on jigs in the future sometime. And this is called the Bunker Buster fly here. That's how it looks like. Really great fly to use. When you got to move those fish, you got to pound them. That's what works. Over here is the Bunker Buster. Over here on the Spring Creek. And then also I tied that bugger first like this. Only thing I did is just made it a tiny bit bigger. So you got some hackle in the back, and this works on bass also too, but it also works on trout uh, with the bead eyes on there. Perfect use. There you go. Alrighty, so we basically went through all the things. Oh, also too, bonus fly, bonus fly. All right, this will come in handy in the sink tipped also. Deer hair up front, and rabbit strip in the back, hackle, and it just moves water, and that's what counts. All right, so now we're coming down to probably the last couple minutes of our episode or live stream here. I think I talked enough about what the fish do or what they're doing during this time, winter conditions, nymphing wise, how to present the nymphs to the fish during the winter, and streamer fishing. Also, fly fishing and streamers, tactics to fly fish for them. People got into urine nymphing and all that stuff too. But the things that really work out for me is just to put on a floating line, cast it out there, strip it in, and just give it any presentation that you use, the more the better. But getting and knowing where those fish are and getting it to those depths and the fly moves water, that's what counts most. So imitating the fly is kind of like my last thing to do. But that's basically it. And presenting the fly strip, don't forget to strip set. That's always um my issue when I earlier when I was streamer fishing is just to practice the strip set, and then that's all there is to it. So I think we're going to be asking questions now. We're coming down to the end of our broadcast here. So if you guys want to ask any questions in regard to um, nymphing or flies or techniques or anything, streamer techniques, anything else like that, or where the fish are going to be, um, give out a holler. I'll be just waiting here just for a couple of minutes, uh, asking any of your guys' questions. So yeah, that's about it. Alrighty. Um, yeah. So I'm in just my fly tying room here. Um, it is kind of cold down here. So
Carson, we have a couple of questions that were sent via email. If you'd
yeah.
like to answer those, this question is what size tippet do you want to use when you're nymphing during the winter?
Yeah.
Do you want to go heavier, lighter? What would be your recommendation for tippet size?
All right. So yeah, I totally forgot to say something about that. Um, it depends. If you're in heavy water, I usually go to 5x, and if you're in lighter water or clear water, I usually go down to 6.5, or even 7x. So where I keep it at. I usually don't use tippet or heavier tippet or lighter tippet if I need to. If I hook into a bigger fish than usual, but I like to keep it around the 6 and 5x range. So for that question, that was answered via email. That's what I would be using, either between 6 to 5x, and then 7x for extreme conditions. So, all right.
Carson, another question via email is for what this person's asking. How do you keep warm on the stream? How do you keep your hands from freezing?
Oh, I so a lot of people say okay, so basically what I do, which actually surprisingly not a lot of people do, is to use hot hands. Some people are like, ah, yeah, you don't need hot hands. You can just go in the water and fly fishing will warm you up. Uh, that doesn't happen all the time. It's so cold, you're moving, and it just not helping is slowing down, and it's just cold. Hot hands, and I usually put them in the pockets near my chest, in my waders, stick on hand warmers, just stick them anywhere, in your waders, outside your waders, or anything else like that. And yeah, that, keeping warm, wear double layers. I have, yeah, when you get wet in the water, I'm also going to say so also, always bring an extra pair of clothes with you. Um, I can't say that serious enough. If something happens where you fall in the water, always carry clothes with you. I if you got to strip down in the parking lot, if that's something you have to do, do it. It's not in risk of getting you sick or getting hypothermia or even something worse. Get to the car. I know you're having a great deal on the water, fly fishing, but you got to know to the point where cut that line off and wrap it up and get yourself home, take a warm shower, and get yourself better. So to that question, very important question there too. Um, keep warm. Um, I don't care if you look or I look like a doofus sometimes on the water because of how many clothes I have on, but it keeps me warm, and that all that matters. So very important question, and keep warm and always bring this extra pair of clothes with you. So that's what I would say for that email.
Carson, I have a DM from Instagram, and this person wants to know what was the greatest experience you had winter fly fishing? What's the best experience, the biggest fish you caught? And, you know,
Okay. Um, biggest fish I caught during the winter conditions. Um, for some reason, usually the bigger fish turn off, except for streamer fishing. That is. Um, But what usually when I'm nymphing most of the time. So because sometimes the water, for some reason, it's always shallower in the winter, and the snow hasn't melted yet. When the spring comes up, then it starts getting heavy. But during the shallow water conditions, I'm nymphing, and the best conditions I ever had was probably that either snow day. It's our first video on Happy in the Fly I had with my brother. We caught both trout and suckerfish, which we had a great time. It was cold. It was cold. We had to go to the car a couple of times just to warm up, but that was good. Um, also, the snowstorm video I had on Happy and the Fly, that was a good experience too. It was cold and it was really hard mugging around your boots and waders through that snow to get to the stream, but it was worth it also. It was really pretty. The scenery was fantastic. We were fishing. I came actually just right out of school, and we went out there and we got to it, and it was cold, but we caught bunches of fish, little fish, medium-sized fish. But it was just a really good experience, and fly fishing in that water during the snow at times is like a totally different environment slash world. It's totally different. And also the fish fight different too. Some fish act more aggressively when they're hooked, and that might put on anglers on the water, and it might encourage them more to get on that water due to because of those fish getting that last minute feed in before they start slowing down. So probably the first video that happened to fly snow day is probably my best. The second best would probably be that heavy snowstorm that we had at Happy in the Fly also. So that's to answer that question. I think that was probably my best two experiences being on that water, fly fishing during the winter.
And Carson, that wraps up the questions that were asked.
All right, perfect. I think we're gonna wrap this up. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Please watch any of our other videos that we have in Happy on the Fly. I'm gonna try to push as many videos as out during the week as possible. Um, Still keeping up with school, which is good. School is always first priority. After school, you can do anything else after that. And I decided, hey, I gotta do a video for the for you that was watching me out there. And yeah, we're just gonna wrap this up. Please watch any other videos that we have. We'll be coming out with any other videos also. And yeah, this is the end of the live stream, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm gonna call it a wrap here. Yeah, that's basically it. So thank you for watching Happy to Fly. Stay tuned for another live broadcast we might have in the near future. And hopefully that you can come along and watch the broadcast, answer any questions, and that's basically it. All right. Thank you guys. Tight lines and stay fishy.